Hey, what's up, y'all? And it's time to update my um, college football top 25 going into conference championship week. So this will be my last top 25 of the regular season. So, anyways, of course, we'll start out with the teams that I kicked out. I did take out. Yes, I took out. Texas A&M after they lost to Texas, uh, um, right, Kansas State after they lost to Iowa State. That was their fourth loss. And then Tulane after they lost to Memphis. That's their third loss. Oh, anyway, so now others receiving votes, teams that I also thought about putting in. See, Army, um, Louisiana, and see Kansas State. Thought about maybe I thought about maybe leaving them in. I mean, um, so yeah, I mean Texas A&M. I guess I still think that they're all right, even though uh, they lost. Let's see. No. Yeah. I guess that's about it. Anyway, forget it. Let's just put up the first nine. We'll do 25 through 17. So how about we start out with number 25, new to the poll this week, we got Memphis. I mean, after they beat Tulane, I mean, Tulane was ranked. So I guess Memphis should take their place. Although Tulane is still going to the American Athletic Conference Championship. Let's see, Memphis 10-2. They lost to Navy and UTSA, but they beat Tulane, so that's their best win. Obviously, got to put Memphis ahead of Tulane, right? And then number 24, we've got UNLV, also new to the poll. They finish at 10-2. They only lost to Syracuse. I guess that's a good loss. I mean, it's a ranked loss, and they lost to Boise State by 5. Obviously, that's not bad. But who is UNLV's best win? They don't really have one. I mean, they don't really have any big wins. I guess Houston and Oregon State, I guess those were the only Power 4 teams that they beat, if you can really call Oregon State um, Power 4. But even though but I mean, those are still terrible teams that didn't even make a bowl. So, but no bad losses, which is why I guess I put them ahead of Memphis. Anyway, how about number 23, Duke, and 22, Missouri, moving up with teams in front of them losing. Duke, of course, finishes 9-3. With losses to, what did they lose to? They lost to Miami. Guess Miami, SMU, and Stanford. Yeah, that's a bad loss. No, wait. Yeah, we're talking about Duke. That was a bad loss to Stanford. But Miami and SMU are not bad losses. I mean, really, they should have beat SMU. They had a game-winning field goal blocked, and they went into overtime. I mean, SMU turned the ball over 5 times, or and Duke still found a way to lose. Or was it 6 turnovers? Anyway, it was Duke's best win. Let's see, they did beat North Carolina, right? NC State, Virginia Tech. I guess those are their best wins, but not get so again. So Duke doesn't really have any good wins, which is why they're only at number 23. Number 22 is where I put Mizzou. Of course, 9-3. They lost to Bama, A&M, and South Carolina. The South Carolina loss was close, but they got blown out by Bama and A&M. But I guess the reason why I put Mizzou at a Duke is just because they played a tougher schedule, because they're in the SEC. So, but now who's Mizzou's best win? Is it Vanderbilt? Is it Oklahoma? Is it Arkansas? Yeah, they don't really have any great wins either. All right, now number 21. I am going to put Syracuse. Of course, they're coming off of a huge win. Yep, huge upset against Miami. And see, they also have a good win against UNLV. I mean, obviously, you got to have Syracuse ahead of UNLV because they won head-to-head, so. No, actually, Duke didn't lose to Stanford. That's right. Duke lost to Miami, SMU, and Georgia Tech. Anyway, it was Syracuse that lost to Stanford. I lost to Stanford and Boston College, and then some other third team. And I mean, obviously Stanford and Boston College, obviously those are bad losses. Oh yeah, and they also lost to Pitt, which they got blown out by Pitt, which didn't look so bad at the time, but that was before Pitt. Pitt was undefeated then, but then of course they lost a bunch of games after that. Anyway, but the win over Miami and UNLV though, which puts them a little bit higher on this list. But those losses though are pretty bad. About number 20, we got Colorado. Now, Colorado had already been well established in the top 25. Colorado was. Syracuse not so much. I just put them in. Anyway, so number 20, we do have Colorado. Of course, they did lose to Nebraska, Kansas State, and Kansas. But they weren't the only team to. They weren't the only one to lose to Kansas. Who's Colorado's best wins is got to be Baylor and Texas Tech. So not really any great wins. So no ranked wins, but Baylor and Texas Tech did go 8-4. So they're not horrible. Anyway, 19. Illinois. Now, Illinois beat, Illinois beat Kansas. Kansas beat Colorado, so that's why I've got to put Illinois ahead of Colorado. But yes, of course, BYU and Iowa State, are ahead of Illinois because they only have 2 losses. Illinois has 3. But anyway, Illinois did lose to Oregon and Penn State, so those aren't bad losses. And you also lost to Minnesota. Yeah, that one is a bad loss. So our Illinois' best wins, I guess it's got to be either Rutgers or Michigan. But anyway, now how about number 18, BYU, and number 17, Iowa State. Now I did put Iowa State ahead of BYU because they're higher in the Big 12 standings, right? Iowa State is going to the Big 12 championship. BYU is not. Let's see, now both of these teams beat Kansas State. BYU also has a win against SMU, who is playing in the ACC championship. See, losses, yes, BYU lost to Kansas State and Arizona State. Iowa State lost to Texas Tech and Kansas. Anyway, now I guess we can, okay, let's get into the next 8. So 16 through 9. Number 16, we do have Clemson. Now, yes, I know they lost to South Carolina. That was their 3rd loss. But I decided not to drop Clemson because they're in the ACC championship against SMU. Now, of course, if Clemson loses, then I'll drop them like a bag of rocks. Yes, I would have dropped Clemson down a few spots, but for the fact that Miami lost, putting them in the ACC championship. But anyway, obviously Clemson, got to be behind South Carolina, obviously, because we just saw South Carolina beat Clemson. Anyway, Clemson does have, the 30-point loss to Georgia to open the season. Also lost to South Carolina. Also lost to Louisville. Now that loss, now doesn't look as good. Louisville is now 8-4. So, but anyway, but that was only one ACC loss. Anyway, and who is Clemson's best win? I don't even know. Is it like Virginia Tech? Is that really Clemson's best win? Oh yeah, I guess it's Pitt. Yeah, Pitt, I guess. Oh yeah, Pitt 7-5. But yeah, Clemson really hasn't really beaten anyone. Anyway, I mean, NC State, yeah, was 6-6. But anyway, whatever. Next, we're gonna move on to number 15. We got South Carolina, and they lost to Alabama and Ole Miss, so those two teams have to be ahead of them. Of course, they also lost to LSU, but that game got stolen from them. They got screwed by the refs to LSU. But I mean, it's not really a bad loss either. I mean, LSU 8-4. They're not terrible. Obviously, that loss looks worse now than it did then, but and I mean, only lost to Alabama by 2. So South Carolina really should be at least 10-2. I mean, they could be 11-1 right now. I mean, Ole Miss was the only game in which they just flat out got outplayed. But anyway, wins for South Carolina. Yes, they did. They did just beat Clemson. They also got the win over Mizzou. Anyway, next, how about we get next, number 14, we've got Ole Miss. Yes. Ole Miss does have the win over Georgia. They do have the win over South Carolina. But they also have losses to Kentucky, Florida, and LSU. I mean, the LSU loss not that bad, but still, it's still an unranked team. But obviously, losing to Kentucky and Florida was inexcusable. But anyway, all right, next, number 13, we do have Miami. Now, I maybe decided to put Miami ahead of Ole Miss. Miami blew Florida out, while Ole Miss lost to Florida. Of course, Miami also lost to Georgia Tech, now twice in a row. Anyway, right now, and now who has Miami beat? Right, Miami hasn't really beaten anyone. I mean, who have they played? I guess their best win is Louisville. Yeah, so you get to Louisville or Florida, right? Louisville, Florida, Duke. Yeah, I guess it's got to be Duke is their best win, I guess. I mean, that's their only ranked wins. Remind Miami does have one ranked win and a ranked loss. Guess a ranked loss to Syracuse. But anyway, at number 12 is where I did put Alabama. Guess I did move Alabama ahead of Miami. I mean, if I was on the committee, I would have Bama ahead of Miami. It's because of Miami's sort of lack of quality wins, and the fact that Bama has the wins over Georgia and South Carolina. Though true, they did lose to Vandy in Oklahoma. Yes, that's why I've got Bama at number 12. Next up, number 11 is where I put Arizona State. I mean, I had them 12 last week. I just put Arizona State in the top 12 because I think that they're going to be a playoff team. So, or at least that was my reasoning for whatever last week or the week before or whenever. Anyway, let's see. Where were we? Oh yeah, number 11. Yeah, right. Arizona State, right now. Let's see, who is Arizona State beat? Yeah, they beat BYU and Kansas State. Let's see. They did not lose to Kansas, but I mean they didn't play Kansas either. So, anyway, but who did they lose to? They lost to was it Texas Tech and Cincinnati? I know that Cincinnati was a bad loss, but anyway, right. I guess we'll just anyway. I guess Arizona State is in the Big 12 title game against Iowa State, so they win that, they're in. Anyway, next, how about number 10? We got Boise State. Now I did sort of have to move Boise State down a little bit from their 9 spot. I just feel like I'm letting, Boise State, get too high, because they're still a group of 5 team. But I think number 10 is fair. I did move Indiana and Tennessee ahead of them. Anyway, Boise State, did just beat Oregon State. They also had the win over Washington State, which now does not look as good. They were 8-4 at one point, with Boise State being their only loss. Boise State did beat UNLV. Right, they get a rematch with UNLV in the Mountain West Championship, and of course their only loss being to Oregon, the number 1 team by 3 points. Anyway, now let's see. How about number 9? We got Indiana. Now, of course, let's see. Indiana. Of course, I did move them up a bit with Miami losing. And I just decided to jump Indiana ahead of Boise State for reasons I just explained. Like that, the fact that I didn't want, that I thought that I was, just I was originally going to put Boise State at 7, but I was thinking, I keep, moving them higher and higher and higher, but where does this end? Remember, they're a Group of 5 team, and am I, giving them too much credit uh, for uh, uh, for only losing to Oregon by a field goal in week 2 after we just saw Oregon only beat Idaho by 10. And of course their loss to Washington State now not being as good of as good of a win. So anyway, thus I have Indiana number 9. They just have a loss to Ohio State. And another who has Indiana played. I guess their best win it's got to be Michigan. I guess that's Indiana's best win. But I mean, it's like yes, they haven't played anyone, but they're blowing these teams out. I mean, they're beating them by 2 touchdowns or more. I mean, they beat the crap out of Nebraska, Michigan State, and they just hung 66 on Purdue. I know Purdue is terrible, but that's all. But I mean, that's all you can do when you play terrible teams. But anyways, next let's get into the top 8. This is going to be 8 through number 1. At 8, I have Ohio State. Guess they fell 6 places from 2 to 8 after losing to Michigan. Now they were limited in how far they could fall because they beat Indiana. So obviously Ohio State has to be ranked ahead of Indiana. Okay, so yes, so I do have Ohio State with the loss to Oregon. They lost to number 1 by 1. The problem is they also lost to Michigan, and that is a bad loss. Anyway, let's see. Number 7 we got Tennessee. Right, they're moving up with Ohio State and Miami losing. They're all the way up to number 7 after their win against Vandy. See, Tennessee also has the win against Alabama. But anyway, they did lose to Georgia. That's not a bad loss. They lost to Arkansas. That is a bad loss. Anyway, so now let's move on to number 6. We got SMU. Of course they're 11-1, playing in the ACC championship against Clemson. Undefeated in conference. Their only loss being to BYU. Anyway, I think they're going to be in whether they win or lose. Now, number 5, we got Notre Dame. They come in at 11-1 with course, and unexplainable loss to Northern Illinois. But I mean they've looked good since then. I mean they're on a 10 game win streak, and they've been blowing out uh just about every team they played. I mean really only the the Louisville game was really competitive. I guess A&M's best win. I mean, excuse me, Notre Dame's best wins are against Texas A&M and Louisville. Al- although those although those wins don't look as good now. I mean, Georgia Tech. I mean, now that looks like sort of a good win. I mean, of course, Georgia Tech did beat Miami, almost beat Georgia. So I know maybe you could consider that a good win, but anyway, gave Army their only loss. I mean, the win against Navy looked good at the time. Uh, but it, it, anyway, number 4, we got Penn State. Of course, I moved them back ahead over Notre Dame. I mean, I had moved them behind Notre Dame after they almost lost to Minnesota, but after steamrolling Maryland, I put them uh, back up ahead of Notre Dame. Anyway, Penn State finishes at 11-1 with just the loss to Ohio State. But because Ohio State lost, now Penn State is playing Oregon in the Big Ten championship, and they'll be in win or lose. Let's see, and now what about Penn State's best wins? Well, I guess their best win is Illinois. I mean, I know that Penn State hasn't really played anyone. But anyway, now speaking of teams that haven't played anyone, at number 3 we got Texas, of course, 11-1, which is the one loss to Georgia. Now A&M was their only ranked win. Of course, A&M is now not ranked, so again, Texas still has 0 top 25 wins. And they are in the SEC championship against Georgia, and they're going to be in win or lose. Anyway, speaking of Georgia, of course, I do have Georgia number 2. I mean, of course, we beat Texas, so of course we also beat Tennessee. Now we would be favored against Penn State, Notre Dame, and SMU. We lost to Alabama and Ole Miss, so not really any embarrassing losses. But I guess the way we lost to Ole Miss was embarrassing. But anyways, we finished 10-2. Of course, we're in win or lose. And then of course, number 1, Oregon. Yep, the only team to go 12-0. Let's see, including wins over Ohio State and Boise State. Yeah, and Illinois. So yeah, so they're in the Big Ten championship, and obviously they're in. Obviously, the worst thing that could happen to Oregon is they end up a 5 seed. Uh, but anyway, so yes, that is going to be it. So let me know what y'all think in the comments below, and thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all again next time.